vest over your head. Then, connect the Velcro strips. Pass the belt around your waist and connect the buckle by pushing two parts firmly together. And lastly,
mga native. Native sa nandun. Mga native. Oh, may hapon siya.
Graduation. Where's the pen?
Okay, so for the first part of the tour, we will be having lunch. We'll have here are the three other adjoining islands also at the mouth of Manila Bay. That's El Caballo over there. That big island there is El Caballo. And then there's a medium-sized island over here. Can you see that? That's Carabao Island. Now between Carabao and El Caballo, we have a black strip island that looks like a ship. A battery is a gun or group of guns in one placement or one location. So 3 10-inch batteries were established by the Spaniards here in the island of Corregidor to cover this small channel. A jump through the depths in those cliffs in 1945 during the American retaking. Some of them had performed harakiri or seppuku, this self-infliction on the abdomen, because they believed that the abdomen was the receptacle of the artillery, anti-aircraft, enlisted men stayed. So American soldiers had stayed here on this first half. And this half could hold as much as 4,000 soldiers on double decks. So you will notice that hollow blocks weren't being used then. No? Now all the structures that you'll see here in the island today, these were constructed by Filipino prisoners under the supervision of the Americans. And the steel came from the US, and guess from what Asian country the Americans ordered cement from? Japan? Yes, ma'am. From Japan. From Asano Cement Corporation. Ironically, it were the Japanese who first bombed this barracks in 1942.
Oo, at saka nasa Corregidor kami. Bukas na si Loli. Pauwi na ba yan? Bukas na lang siya. Huwag mo naman na po bukas na lang. Tawagan ko siya. Pagka andito na si Hindi, ako na mag-a-arrange sa kanya. Ako na mag-aantay. Tatawagan ko siya. Okay.
Of course, for every battery, there were ammunition storage rooms. Here and on that side were ammunition storage rooms. You see, American times, the island of Corregidor was run by generators. The guns were electrically triggered but manually loaded. Now here on your right we have the control room, and beside the control room is a shell, an American shell which weighs 1,000 pounds. Okay. To see the longest gun in the island. This was actually the last defense added by the Greece and could fire with a maximum range of 29,000 yards or 17 miles. Now, as you can see, we still have the pock marks on the battle caused by the shrapnels that melted on it. And beside Battery Hearn, we have their big crater. This was caused by an American bomb during the retaking of the island in 1945, a 2,000-pound American bomb. And this was also the same gun used by the Japanese soldiers for their... And the Japanese soldiers had posed beside Battery Hearn shouting, "Banzai! Banzai," meaning to say eternity or victory. And this was to show the world they had defeated the Americans. I'm going to show you this Banzai.
Zek.
Dapat andun ka rin.
Meron na, di ba yung... O may kuhanin ko sa kanya yan.
After which, when the rifling or the groves of the battle gets thinned out, they had to change the battle, so they had a spare battle here right below of Battery Hearn. This weighs 54 tons. Now, before General this was a 3-story building, and this could hold as much as 8,000 soldiers. It was also here where the 59th Marine Regiment had held their quarters upon their arrival in the island on December 29, 1941. And the American junior officers had also stayed here in this building. Now, behind the building was a swimming pool for the junior officers only, American junior officers. The American senior officers had their own swimming pool. In fact, the Americans had established many resorts around the island. They had a 9-hole golf course, tennis courts, they had movie houses here. So you could just imagine this island was a military bastion with first-class amenities before the war. This was also the drop zone for the 503rd Paratroop Regiment, which was under the command of Colonel George Jones. You see, for the retaking of the island by the Americans in 1945, of course, this was occupied by the Japanese. So for the retaking, there were a group of 2,000 American paratroopers who had joined the retaking, and at first they had expected 50% casualty for these airdrops because this wasn't a big place to land. This was quite dangerous. In fact, right after the drops, many paratroopers were seen dangling on trees. Fortunately, only 19 American paratroopers had died and 245 were injured. Now, these guns here on your right were also dropped by the paratroopers themselves. On your left, we have the ruins of Tour of Corregidor. Also, one of the movie houses established by the Americans here in the island. The other one was located at the bottom side. And here, films were shown 3 months in advance before being shown in the city of Manila. The first to construct this memorial, which is dedicated to all of the Filipino and American fighting men who had sacrificed their lives in order to win land, air, and sea battles, which restored peace and freedom in the Pacific region. Park in Virginia, there's also statues there of a Filipino and an American soldier, and there is the American soldier who's wounded, so it's just there, okay? Now, around the statues, we have markers dedicated to all of the forces that had joined the Pacific.
Dito ka din sa harapan din. Medyo side. naman, siya naman, ikaw naman.
It's a pitting guns because as you will notice, ladies and gentlemen, the guns are surrounded by wall parapets. And from the sea, you couldn't notice the guns. No? The guns would go up the walls when it was ready to fire and then go down again when they reload them. So they're very much like the guns of Navarro. No? And, okay. Bataan on April 9, 1942, and the following day the Death March had started. That's in Bataan, no? Now, have you heard about the Death March? All right. There were about 76,000 Filipino and American soldiers who had joined the Death March. They had walked from this part of the peninsula. They moved towards this direction in Pampanga, and then they were incarcerated in Camp O'Donnell in Capasterla. They had walked for about 105 kilometers for almost 2 weeks. And again, 12,000 Filipino and American soldiers had been imprisoned by the Japanese down there around barbed wires for 2 weeks under the scorching heat of the sun. Fortunately, no soldier died there because the Philippine scouts, that's Zurias and Estrella, they were able to dig a spring or hopa. So they provided food ordeal down there by drinking from the spring pot. And after the inside the Malinta Tunnel. But during those times, our president was already sick of tuberculosis or TB. The atmosphere inside the tunnel had worsened his condition. He left Corregidor Island. First, by the way, he left on his submarine Swordfish po. And he sailed towards the Visayas, and when he was a bit better, he flew to the U.S. He rode in exile in the USA upon the invitation of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Unfortunately, he was not able to see the liberation of our country. But if you stay overnight, you can go as far as you could.
What is standard yun?
The nerve center of the formidable Philippine garrison called Fort Mills, guarding the sea approaches to Manila Bay.
God on high and on earth, peace to men of good will. Peace. With bombs falling around us and on our beleaguered, unprotected boys in Philippine Bataan,